Your thoughts on that exchange with Bedard and Robert Kraft when it came to the succession and the thought that maybe Robert Kraft should be getting ready to step aside here from decision-making duties with the Patriots?
I mean, it obviously hit a nerve. So, and again, like, and look, it's their family at the end of the day, but you always do wonder about the dynamics. Like, I'm sure Jonathan wants to get his bite at the apple, his chance to run the team. His dad's 84. Like, I get it. So, but it obviously irritated Robert. And I happen to think I would always pick the guy who's more in the prime. And I think Jonathan's in the prime. And I don't think Greg meant anything by it. I think he was asking what you would say is a very logical question. I would say the same thing in Dallas with Jerry Jones. Like, every time I see Jerry Jones, I feel like he's slowing down. I'm not criticizing him for it. It's what happens to everybody. So, to me, I understand the pluses and minuses of the transition, but it's inevitable. My personal feeling is Jonathan's probably doing more now than we think he is. And, and Robert's just out front and center because he likes that better than Jonathan does.
Do you think it is time for Robert Kraft to step aside?
I do. Yep. I said that last year. The Mayo decision alarmed me. That was a decision based on, every owner or executive says, like Vrabel, my job is to protect the franchise. Was Robert Kraft protecting the franchise, or was he doing something for someone he liked? And it felt to me like he was doing more the second thing. So I think that somehow Mayo, I don't want to say deceived him, but something in Mayo appealed to him on a personal level, and he didn't make the best decision for his football team. And I think his judgment was really clouded by it. When I say that, I mean you get to a certain stage of your life, your priorities change. They change constantly as you get older. So I'd like to think Jonathan would have approached that decision in a more business-like fashion, and they never would have made that mistake in the first place. Mike, that was a colossal mistake.
Well, the biggest mistake wasn't just Mayo. It's then what they surrounded him with.
The whole thing.
That was just ridiculous.
It was just treated very sort of cavalierly. Like, oh, this is the guy who's been here. I know him. I consider him a friend. I'm going to pick him. And, he did it without any consideration to how's he going to fill out his own staff? Who does he know in the league? What kind of networking does he have? And then they did the same thing at every other position around him. So really, the only, how many guys did they bring in that were known commodities last year? And you would say, and I'm talking about players now, the only one I can think of is Austin Hooper. That was Van Pelt. Like, so the whole thing just ran into a wall. They had all these people it was like kindergarten. So the mistake was just so massive. I can't let that one go.
Which, fine, I get, but he did rectify it. I mean, if it was you could have compounded that mistake by saying, well, he'll learn on the job, essentially.
Murray, wasn't it by that point painfully obvious? Like, in other words, we're going to give him credit now for fixing a mistake that anyone would have fixed.
Sure, yeah.
That's not true.
I don't know. I think some guys maybe would have given it another year. There was public pressure to first black head coach in Patriots history. So maybe he would feel like, well, I'm going to give him more of a chance because there's. That was a tough decision. It was like for fans and us to say, like, yeah, of course he's not ready for the job. He's got to go. But if you're the owner, that's not the easiest decision to make.
I think there are some mistakes you make, and you say, well, it was a reasonable risk at that time. I don't see where Mayo was qualified for the job in retrospect.
No, it wasn't. Absolutely wasn't.
I just and a lot of people knew it at the time, and he didn't, and that to me is alarming.
I just think it's almost like peeing into the wind to say it's time to transition because based on that answer he gave, it's from his cold dead hands. Like,
yeah, he's not doing it.
He ain't giving this up.
Nope, no sir, no sirree, Bob. And given Jonathan, again, I said this earlier, I'm a little apprehensive of Jonathan. He's a wild card to me. He's certainly, I would say, obviously more vibrant, if you will, whatever, more in his prime, as you would say, as a professional or a decision maker or whatever, but. Just the comportment, the what it, I don't know. I'd be a little leery of Jonathan at this point.
Sure.
Or maybe any point. So, and I do think Robert redeemed himself by, bailing on Mayo and that thing as he did. I wasn't sure that he would do that until the very end. But we'll see. I think what's clear is that, like I said earlier in the week, Robert Kraft is treating this as if he were an athlete, and you will have to, from his cold, dead hands, he's not giving this thing up. He's not giving this thing up unless he's forced to give it up. And so that, I think, is the reality. Bedard thinks it's time for Robert to step aside from the front-facing stuff, the public stuff. Like, let Jonathan Kraft meet the media and answer the questions. I mean, I'd be for that. Jonathan, I think, would give you more. As a media guy, as a talk show host, I think John would give us more.
He wants nothing to do with it.
John wants just the opposite. He wants to have all the say, but not have to answer for any of it. Who wouldn't want that? But that's what he wants.
They're almost the opposite of each other now.
Yeah.
Not that Robert doesn't want say, but I think Robert really enjoys the public part of it.
Definitely. All right, back to your phone, 617-779-0985. There's open lines if you want them. How about Zach in Groveland? Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, guys. If by some miracle we hit a home run in this draft, are we giving any credit to Elliott Wolf and Kraft, or is it all going to Vrabel? I'll hang up and listen.
Okay. Well, tell me who it is. In other words, if Travis Hunter's sitting there, anyone would make that pick. I'm not giving credit to anyone. You're just there, and the consensus obvious guy drops to you because someone else got stupid at quarterback, and so you just did what anyone would do. I like no credit. But I think it's clear to me Wolf has been neutered. Otherwise, Joe Milton wouldn't be gone. And what credit does Kraft? I don't understand where Kraft comes into that at all.
I mean, it's Vrabel's gig now, as far as I'm concerned. Everything falls under his name.
Meanwhile, Adam in Brockton.
Hey!
Where have you been, Adam?
Well, not to sound petty and stubborn, but I'm petty and stubborn. Years ago, I remember you had my brother and I on at the same time, and the great Jimmy Stewart actually gave me the back number and said, hey, just call this, that way you can get right through. And so I would just start using that number going forward, and then one day somebody just said, hey, no, this is for guests only. You got to call the other line. And I said, you know what? That's it. And I haven't called since.
Wow, that is so we're getting all territorial now like that,
Yes,
Adam? Come on.
A little bit. No, but hey, Mazz, I want to make sure that I stick up for you for something that the idiot in Easton said last week, and that is
your brother.
And again, just to be clear, the idiot in Easton is your brother.
First of all, yeah, Bobby. So first of all, if he was sitting next to Cecil Cooper and Cooper Flagg sitting between him on an airplane, he wouldn't know who the hell who was who.
Yeah,
so don't give Mazz No, he wouldn't. Bobby, listen, just because you own season 3 of Hanging with Mr. Cooper doesn't make you a Cooper Flagg expert. So enough of that. And then just finally, fellas, I want to assure you, because his prediction of 11 wins, which was just ridiculous, I made sure there is now a lock on the liquor cabinet. So you shouldn't be getting those phone calls anymore from him about 11 wins from the stupid Patriots. So there you go.
You don't like him for 11 wins, Adam?
They'll get 4 again. That's it.
It'll be better than that. But I think around 8 or 9, maybe.
Adam, don't be a
They'll be
stranger.
4 wins.
Thanks for calling.
See, that's the beauty of having the brothers. You split the difference. You're over and under 7.5.
Where are you at, Mazz?
I'm over. I think they're going to get 8. I do. Now, again, I will say 8 or more. The schedule blows. I think they're going to be a functional, disciplined football team, at least by the middle of the year. It might take a little while to build in some of that, but I think they're going to be better coached. I think they have better talent. Feels like they should be able to stop people at least to some degree. I would expect nothing worse than an average defense, and I think Drake May should be better the second time around.
So that's 2 wins for the quarterback.
To me, it's not about that. It's not about the roster. I think, and I'm saying their over under has gone up. But between 7.5 and 8.5. Kind of out of nowhere. I don't think it's about their improvement to the roster. I think it's purely a fact that the odds makers look at the schedule and handicap every game. And right now, the look-ahead games, the schedule is just easy. They say Patriots, Panthers at home.
Win.
Patriots, Browns at home.
Win.
Patriots, Jets at home.
Win.
Patriots, Raiders at home. Patriots, Giants at home.
Win.
I don't know about the Raiders.
They do simply that.
They'll beat the Raiders.
Brady's on the Raiders now, so that's a loss.
At the Titans,
Win.
At the Saints.
Win.
I mean, we'll see, but it's like, but that's what they do.
Yes.
If you had a different schedule, you'd have a different over-under, and I don't blame them.
Mike, they are going to win some games this year on coaching. They are.
Well, against this schedule.
Yes.
You know, the coach is only going to do so much. If the opponent's that much better than you, then they're that much better than you, and nothing the coach can do. But against these bleep bums, yeah, the coaching might show up this year.
Again, I said
We
some
got to see
games.
if the baby quarterback will take to it, though.
I'm sorry, what is
sure.
that, Murray?
You got to make sure the baby quarterback's all comfy. You know, you got to get Joe Milton out here. I'm a little uncomfortable.
So are we taking that as gospel then, that Drake May was the issue here behind Joe Milton?
Look, I just think it's a little red flaggy is all. To hear that the way, again, the clear runway, the line from Mike Reese, and then what Ben Rowland wrote last night. It's a little red flaggy to me.
Isn't Vrabel the hard-ass coach, the tough, we're gonna hold people accountable? So you have the wrong coach for the quarterback now.
Well, I would have thought that Vrabel, I wouldn't have been surprised if Vrabel would handle it differently, which is, again, coming in and saying Drake May hasn't won anything yet. Like the rest of us, he has to prove himself on day one. And everyone has to prove himself every moment of every day. No one's gifted or granted anything. And so we're all going to have to put up with whatever we have to put up with and battle it out, whatever. That was a bad reenactment, but you know what I mean, that he would have handled that differently. I think that they are trying to build trust with Drake May. Was the trust broken with the previous group? I don't know. Maybe. It's entirely when Mike Reese says, Mike Reese, this isn't us. This isn't Adam and Brockton or, this is Mike Reese.
The fifth Kraft child.
Says it's about the quarterback room dynamic. He's not talking about Josh Dobbs. The quarterback room dynamic, and it clears the runway for Drake May. I think he's telling you, and maybe he didn't mean to, but he's talking about Drake May. He's not talking about the coaching staff. He's talking about Drake May. So they're bending over for Drake May. And again, I would just say, in fairness, it might be the right thing to do because is that what you have to do with today's athlete?
Yes. Yeah, it happens a lot. And again, it might be the right thing. I don't dispute that for a second. I still think they could have found a way to get more for Milton.
I mean, at the end of the day, was Bill Belichick's approach with Mac Jones the right way?
No.
Chain of command. He's a bitch.
So wouldn't it,
Mac Jones, I mean.
Right. I mean, you could say that Mac Jones sucked, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I would say that Bill Belichick's approach did not bring out the best in Mac Jones.
No, look, and again, he definitely mismanaged that whole thing with Zappy in the middle there when he started him and then pulled Jones.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about just
The way he handled them in general.
the hard-ass approach.
Yeah, no, it didn't work.
The whole thing where, he found out that Mac Jones had called down to Nick Saban or talking outside the family, and the next thing you know, Bill Belichick's not even mentioning his name. Not the words Mac Jones wouldn't even escape his lips. So he totally busted his balls. And at the end of the day, Mac Jones that's not the right guy to bust you. He needed a softer touch. Again, he sucked, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But I do wonder if they're looking at Drake May, and not that he's Mac Jones, but something in the way that it went down last year, they said, okay, this is how we have to approach it. That is the only reasonable explanation I can come up with for them pulling the cord on Joe Milton like they did this week.